first responder knives. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about first responder knives. Now, if you are a first responder, thank you very much for your service. I know it is not an easy job, and most first responders do not get paid enough for what they do. First responder typically means that you are someone that's in law enforcement, maybe security, someone that is a firefighter, EMS, somebody that's in the rescue services. They typically get paid by the city or the town or the state at which they work. Some are federal employees as well. The knives that they carry are typically going to be smaller, maybe concealed, but ideally these are people that are going to rescue somebody. All right, so you need a sharp blade in order for that to happen. Maybe you're cutting some of the people out of a vehicle and you have to cut seatbelts. Maybe you're trying to rescue somebody from a house and they're tied up in rope. Or maybe you have somebody like the Forest Service where you're constantly cutting and whittling to make fires. So a blade is going to be very important to those types of people. What I had done is a little bit of research to figure out what I think, in my opinion, are the best knives for those personnel. And if you are a first responder and this is your first time looking at this, please go ahead and put the comments down below as to which knife that you carry and why you carry it. It's going to help everybody kind of get the feel of why you carry it and why you pick that blade specifically. Now, all the blades that I have on the table, I personally purchased myself. However, I will have an Amazon link. If you're interested in any of these blades, just click on the link. It'll take you to my store and you can go ahead and purchase those knives for yourself. If you do purchase one of these knives, then I think I get like 2 cents on the dollar, and it helps me out. So thank you very much for that. So let's go over some of the criteria. The criteria for these blades obviously is going to be, number one, the blade shape. Okay, the blade shape is going to depend on what job that person has. Somebody that's cutting someone out of a vehicle is probably not going to have the same blade shape as somebody, let's say, that is in a martial status, or somebody that maybe needs to cut firewood or kindling in order to start a fire. So things might be a little bit different. But that being said, as a city dweller myself, I'm probably going to look for a blade shape with a blunt edge or a rounded edge. All right, this is a Spyderco. This is typically called, I think, a sheep's foot. I don't know if you could see that right there. That opposed to something like this. This is my Spyderco Police. And notice the difference in the blade shapes. All right, this has a point, this does not. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these for both for rescue. Either one will be great for rescue. You just got to be a little bit more careful with that point on there. You don't want to stab somebody inadvertently and hurt them when you're trying to rescue them. Also, serrations are going to be a big thing. Notice on this blade right here, it does have a lot of serrations, and this one is plain edged. Again, to each his own, but ideally the reason why a lot of people in the rescue services use serrations is because it's easier to cut rope, and sharpness is a thing. All right, a lot of the blades that you're going to see here on the table will not have serrations. I typically do not like serrations because it's easier to sharpen my blades, but I sharpen blades. A lot of first responders never sharpen their blades, so when they get them, they just want something that's one and done. Let me purchase it and I'm good to go. I don't have to ever worry about it again. Different type of mentality, but again, hey, to each his own. One-handed opening. One-handed opening is probably another thing that gets overlooked. I think ideally, if you are working with somebody trying to rescue them, you're going to need both of your hands. One hand might be holding something up or holding somebody back, while the other hand is going to reach for your blade. This is a ZT Hinderer design, the 560 in Elmax. Fantastic blade. I have carried this blade almost everywhere. The flip action, all right, if you're not familiar, is when you use your finger to help flip the blade out. I also have the auto. All right, this is, I believe, a Benchmade autos. Again, you just pop the button and the blade flips out. These types of blades are outstanding. Just check your local and state laws because sometimes, for whatever reason, this is worse than a gun in some states. It's ridiculous. The idea of carrying one of these, it's not an instrument of death. All right. What we're trying to do is to be able to pull this out of my pocket and help somebody out with a one-hand operation. The auto is the best, but again, we have other options such as the flipper. We also have the access lock from Benchmade, which is kind of nice. These thumb studs right here, you put your thumb on the thumb stud and you flip it out as well, so that's really nice. Also, Spyderco has another version of this where it has the thumb loop, all right, or the typical Spyderco loop, and you put your thumb inside there to flip it open. I do like Spyderco. I'm a big fan of those. And we also have some assisted opening as well. This is Kershaw. Kershaw has a little bit of a flipper, but it also has a spring in here, so when you push it, it shoots out like that, all right? And ideally, again, that's specifically for one-handed openings. You can do it with both hands. It has a spring assist inside here, so when you push on that flipper, it shoots out a little bit faster, all right? Makes things very nice and easy. Some of them do have the spring assist, some of them do not. Some knives don't come with a hole, they don't come with a flipper. Depending on the knife that you buy, they might only have a thumb stud on one side. This is Ka-Bar's Dozer. All right, Ka-Bar's Dozer. If you wanted to flip the thumb stud on the other side, you have to remove the thumb stud and put it on the other side if you are left-handed. All right, so again, to each his own what you like. Depending on what you like, what you're comfortable with, what your fidgeting type of fidgeties that you like, that's fine. All knives are not the same. Sharpness, all right? The ability to stay sharp. Now, typically, a lot of first responders will buy what I like to call the Chinese knockoffs, all right? The Chinese mark. Now, these are not bad knives, all right? Most of these are made by Ganzo. Ganzo is a Chinese manufacturer, and what they do is they kind of knock off a lot of designs that are already in the market, and they use D2 steel. The locks are very similar, but again, they are knockoffs, so you're not going to get the high quality steels, but typically they are cheaper, and they do work and function very similar to the originals. All right, so they do act and feel sort of like the original. So here I have a Benchmade Griptilian. All right, very smooth, very good steel, right? Very grippy. And here I have a Ganzo knockoff. Again, very smooth, very grippy. All right, it does have the access lock here, and I don't know, this is a version of the access lock. All right, so you're looking at maybe a couple $100 for the Benchmade and maybe $50 for this one. All right, so again, first responders will probably try to gear towards the cheaper knife. I'm not saying you should, but again, understand the quality. This quality right here, maybe you use it a couple times, it's going to get dull. This one right here, you could probably use it a couple thousand times before it gets dull. All right, so quality is a thing. You probably should look at that. But again, your price point is going to determine what you can and cannot afford. Let's talk about construction. Most knives typically are going to be made out of some type of plastic material, either G10, micarta, FRN, fiberglass reinforced, that kind of thing. You have a really nice grippy G10. All right, on the Ontario Rat 1, really nice grippy material. FRN for the Spyderco, really nice and grippy as well, but it is a plastic. You'll also have some nice scales. You also might have a little bit of grooves cut into the plastic, into the G10, as you can see on my Spyderco Auto. This is also nice, the Kershaw Blur. All right, this Kershaw Blur is assist, and you can see that the grippiness is actually cut into the plastic, so that gives it a lot of grip. So non-slip is kind of important. But here's the problem with that, is if you're specifically only using plastic and or polymer type handles, what if you're a firefighter? What if you have to be next to fire? So typically firefighters or someone that's next to hot materials are not going to use those type of blades. All right, so what you can do is you can look for these. These are aluminum style blades. All right, aluminum handle blades. This is the Cryo from Kershaw. Very nice, recommended. And this is a titanium coated aluminum. Really, really nice. All right, titanium coated blades. Also, CRKT also makes them in aluminum scales. All right, so aluminum scales, metal scales, scales that are on the handles that will not burn inside of a fire. If you are a firefighter, it's going to determine which knife that you purchase. Yeah, it might get a little bit hot, but at least now your scales are not melting off in a 1,000-degree fire. Okay, extra tools. Let's talk a little bit about extra tools. Now, on my CKRT, this is the M16 14Z LEK. All right, this is the LE version of my CRKT M16. And I really like this because I do have an M16, all right, the originals, one of the originals that I bought from the PX before I got deployed to Iraq, and I still have it. So it actually works. This one is completely beat up, and I like this design. It does give me a little bit more blade edge, which I like. Typically, my blade edge is around 4 inches or more. There are smaller blades on the table, and I'll get to them as well. But what's cool about this one is it has a seatbelt cutter in it. Can you see that seatbelt cutter? All right, so as the blade is closed, you do have a seatbelt cutter. You also have a glass breaker. So someone that is in law enforcement or someone that is in rescue that needs to get inside of a vehicle, that's a really good blade. Here's another one by Gerber. This is the Hinderer design. All right, if you can still find one of these, I suggest you pick it up. It does have a glass breaker on the end, and it has a locking blade. And it has a flip out, if I can get it out, a flip out seatbelt cutter. All right. Benchmade, excellent. If you can find one of these, I suggest you get it. All right. I forget the name of this one, but I'll make sure that you have a link to it. All right. It has a sheep's foot design, very sharp, really grip G10 handles, access lock, and it has a hidden seatbelt cutter. All right, a hidden seatbelt cutter that's inside the handle. It also has a breaker on the end. So super nice, right? Spyderco. Let's talk about Spyderco. If you want to get a rescue knife, this is probably the Mac Daddy of rescue knives. All right, so it has multiple openings, right? So I have the Spidey hole, right? So I could put my thumb on there, but it also has a ramp. I don't know if you can see the ramp that's on there as well. That ramp right here is so that you can open it up with gloves. All right, super smart. Thank you, Spyderco. It has a wire clip. Also, if you notice these finger grooves right here, the finger grooves on top, if you push on the finger grooves, the glass breaker comes out of the back. All right, let's see if I can show it to you. All right, the glass breaker comes out of the back. So you have to pull this down, glass breaker comes out, and you can break the glass. So super nice. It also has a whistle. All right, it has a whistle already built into the knife. All right, so that's pretty cool. This is the #1 rescue tool. But again, it's also super bulky. All right, does have the serrations for rope cutting, and it does have the blunt end or sheep's foot. All right, super nice, but also pretty bulky. All right, let's talk about belt pouches. Now, typically, if you work in the rescue environment, you're probably going to be wearing a belt, either a duty belt, a security belt, maybe you have a medical belt, something around your waist. And ideally, it's easy to carry your tools instead of just jamming them in a pocket on a belt. So Gerber makes a couple of pretty decent knives with the belt attachment to it. Leatherman, all right? Leatherman. I have seen more first responders wear Leatherman products than anybody else. All right. The idea behind a multi-tool is it's all the tools that you need on your belt. This happens to be a Leatherman super tool. You don't have to go this heavy, but it has pliers on it. It has a knife. It has a bottle opener, screwdriver. It has a second knife. It has a file. Some of them even have a saw on it. All right. So ideally, instead of just carrying a knife, you're carrying a bunch of tools. All right. You can go with Leatherman, which is really nice. This is the Skell tool, probably one of the thinnest and smallest tools, multi-tools that I see first responders carry. Again, ideally, it does have all the tools that I need. It also comes with a keychain clip, and it comes with a pocket clip as well. So I have a couple ways of carrying this. I can carry this on my keychain, I can carry it in my pants pocket, and you can also get a pouch for it. So good on you. And you don't see this too much, but you do see Swiss Army knives. Swiss Army knives have been around forever, probably one of the most original multi-tool you can find on this planet. They still sell them. All right, you can get this fancy one in onyx aluminum blue, or you can get the old-fashioned style, depending on what you like. They also have ones that are made for the woods that have locking blades now, which is fantastic. They also have ones for your computer people. All right, so if you're a tech guy and you need to fix your computer, check this out. All right, it has all the bits and tools that you would need to fix little type of electronics. All right, because not all first responders are out there saving lives. They got to fix the equipment for first responders, right? Fantastic, outstanding, right? So again, pouches, tools, multiple uses here. All right, weight and size. All right, weight and size. Weight and size is going to be big, guys. Depending on how much kit you got to wear, I gotta say, typically the police officer that has to wear that big, or agent, or anybody that's wearing a gun belt, typically that gun belt's about 30 pounds. That's a lot. That's a lot of weight. So you don't want to keep adding more metal to it. All right. So something with a lot of weight to it's probably not going to go well with first responders, just because of the sheer amount of stuff. So this super tool, although really, really nice, all right, this thing, I could feel it right now, is super heavy. All right. But something like this, although it's nice, it's too heavy. All right. I wouldn't carry something like this, but something like this, like my Sidekick Wingman, all right, or Wingman, all right, has a one-handed plier, which is nice, but it's half the weight. It does come with a clip or a pouch, and it's half the weight. So this is probably something I would carry more often, all right? When I'm talking about size, all right, this is the Cold Steel, one of my favorites, Recon 1. Fantastic blade. This one is in the S35VN. All right, so this is a really nice blade. I've carried this a lot. 4-inch blade, 4-inch handle. They did relieve some of the grippiness on the G10, so it doesn't rip up your pocket anymore. But Cold Steel brought back the Mini Recon. Okay, so a little bit smaller profile, as you can see there. All right, lightweight, thin profile. All right, you could put this in your pocket and forget it's there, and then when you need a knife, it's there. All right, so it's super lightweight. I think these are still available if you can get them. Very good construction. You don't have to get the S35VN version. You can get the AUS-8, which is a little cheaper steel, but it still works. Here's another comparison. All right, so this is, again, my CRKT M16. They also came up with the smaller, lighter, thinner version. All right, this is the M1603KS. All right, and show you a little bit of a size comparison there. Notice how thin it is. Notice the blade profile is super thin. All right, so this is super lightweight compared to this. It's kind of chunky, and it has a lot more tools on it. But carrying something like this around, you're not even going to feel it in your pocket. And it does pretty much everything that does. The only difference is, again, it doesn't have all the tools. Okay, big deal. Let's talk about, so I got my Griptilian, right? Griptilian, Benchmade, super nice, comfortable handle, plastic scales. What about my bug out? All right. You don't even know you have this. The bug out is super tiny, super lightweight. Yeah, blade size is a little bit different. This is more of a robust knife. I would not chop up anything with this. But again, it's super, super lightweight. All right, lightweight is going to be important to you if you're carrying around 30 or 40 pounds around your waist. All right, so the Benchmade bug out, really nice. Come in different colors and different styles. All right, now let's talk about the big one, and let's talk about the elephant in the room, costs. When it comes to costs, it is subjective. It depends on you, the person that's got to carry this, who, if you're a knife guy, if you're not a knife guy. A lot of the knives that you see on this table, like these F and Goes, right? Evan Grows, whatever they call them. You also have stuff that's like from MTech. All right, these MTech knives, you can get them for like $5.99, and then they sell them on eBay. They usually have some type of theme on them, like says police or EMS or emergency service, whatever. This one happens to be the USMC Marine Corps version of it. And when you first get it, you think it's a good buy because the springs work and everything's good and it's tight and it feels good in the hand. But these don't last. These do not last. You probably get them for like $20. If you really wanted one and you wanted to search around, you can get them for cheaper. The blade steel is insufficient. It will absolutely dull within the first use. It does have a breaker and a blade in the back, which is kind of nice. But again, you know what you're buying, right? You're buying these knives because first responders, eventually, if you're not a knife guy, will not take care of this. Once this gets dull or it breaks or you lose it, you don't care because it's only $20, right? So you'll throw it out. It's disposable. And there's a bunch of them out there, right? So this is another Ganzo, right? $20, $30, $40. Here's another one, right? So they look nice out of the packaging, all right, but they're not really made to last, all right? They are throwaway knives, so you're probably going to get some knockoffs, all right? This looks kind of familiar, right? This is I made by Steinbeck, and this is the actual Kershaw version, right? You're going to get a lot of knockoffs. This is clearly a knockoff, all right? This is Kershaw, all right? And this is the other brand, all right? Again, they both look nice. They both feel nice. They both come out of the box sharp. But again, this one, the knockoff, is probably going to get dull pretty soon, all right? So if you're not into knives or you're not into the price cost of them, then you're probably going to go with a cheaper one. And that's fine. I know a lot of first responders that don't care. They're like, listen, if it breaks, I don't care. If I lose it, I don't care. I don't take care of my equipment. It's not a big deal to me. There's a lot of manufacturers out there that will make cheaper blades specifically for that reason. They are throwaways, but I'm just going to give you an idea. So Kershaw to me is probably the bottom of the line of where you should go as far as a first responder knife, right? They offer very good quality knives for the price. You get a lot for the blade, probably around the 40 and up to 80 or $100. All right, this one, the Cryo, is going to be a little bit more expensive because it's made of better materials. But even this one right here, the OSS, I think it is, the OSO, super lightweight, good materials, and it's so small and compact. Really, really good blade. All right, again, you can't go wrong with the Blur. I highly recommend the Blur to all of my first responder friends. When they ask me, hey John, what kind of knife you should get, I always send them to this one. It's a assisted one-hand opening, super thin, lightweight, grippy. If you get the one with the better steel, it's going to cost you about $100. But you can get the cheaper one with the cheaper steel for about half the cost. And they come in different colors. All right, I didn't specifically mention colors, but we'll talk about that in a second. Spyderco, the Tenacious. One of my first knives that I ever bought from Spyderco was a Tenacious. These run about $40. How could you not get a Tenacious? Probably now with the market being the way it is, it's a little bit more expensive. But the Tenacious, yes, they are made in China, but they are a Spyderco brand. So if anything happens, you send it back to Spyderco and you get a new one, or they fix it for free. Okay, so again, Spyderco, you don't have to go with the super expensive Spyderco. You can get the Tenacious. And again, lightweight, good quality material. All right, this is, I think, is about a 3.5-inch blade. Obviously, let's see. Yeah, obviously, this one's a little bit more expensive because of the materials. The FRNs, all right, the FRNs from Spyderco. Yeah, you're going to spend a little bit more money. If you have a little extra money, I would invest in the Spydercos with the FRN style. These things are super lightweight. They're good quality steel, and you won't even know that they're in your pocket, all right? Cold Steel, one of my favorites, Cold Steel. You can get the budget versions, all right? These are the Pro Lights. All right, the Pro Lights are super cheap. They're like $40, all right, depending on the style and the materials that they use. Another good one right here, This is the Tough Light. Okay, really, really small, lightweight. You could put it in your little coin pocket, and they work. All right, this has a hollow grind, but again, these come in multiple colors, which is nice. And the reason I say colors is because, number one, you want to be able to identify your knife, because not everybody that you work with is on the up and up. And if you leave it somewhere, at least you know which color it was, right? Also, if you drop it and it's dark out, you'll be able to identify your knife as well. All right, Cold Steel Lawman. All right, this was specifically designed for law enforcement. All right, can't go wrong with that. It has the same robust triad lock as the Recon. Okay, this still has the old grippy style, which I prefer better, because if your hands get wet, at least you can still grip onto this knife, although it will rip up your pocket. But hey, that's what are you going to do, right? The Ontario Rat 1 is the large version, and the Rat 2 is the small version. All right, excellent Aus 8 steel. No one's messing with you. Would you buy one of these? These are $30, $40, depending on where you buy it. I think the Rat 1's a little bit more expensive. But again, these things are fantastic, all right? Because, again, it's a little bit better quality from a manufacturer that by Ontario, as opposed to buying, one of the knockoff brands, all right? So it works. You're never going to have a problem with it. It has four position of this clip, so you can move it around. It comes in multiple colors, okay? So you decide what color that you like: red, orange, green, blue, purple, whatever it is, and then this way that's your knife. Benchmade, super expensive, all right? You're going to pay through the nose with Benchmades, all right? Again, this is my rescue. Right, Benchmade is going to be expensive. No matter which Benchmade you buy, they are going to be expensive. They made premium quality parts, very expensive. They do come in different colors, but whether you get the auto or the regular version of them, you're going to pay through the nose. Benchmade has good quality control. If you're interested in one of those, I highly recommend them for the quality, but you're going to pay a lot of money, all right? So if you're not a knife guy, that's fine. All right, I would steer away from them. But if you're a knife guy, that's kind of the top of the line as far as folders. ZT Knives, top quality. This is my go-to-war pocket knife, ZT. They're made for combat, right? But they're also made for first responders. I think this is my 560. This is my 350. All right, you can still get the 350, a little bit thinner, but super grippy, quality, premium. They're about $200 to $300 each, sometimes even more. All right, ZTs are super expensive, but again, if you're somebody that's looking for a knife that's going to last to the end of time, go buy a ZT. All right, even more so than the Benchmade. Benchmade are nice, but man, you're going to get a lot of knife for what you pay for. All right. Swiss Army knives, multi-tools. You decide which one. If you think that any of these are more useful to you as a first responder, you're probably going to want one of these anyway. The good thing about this is that it's not just the knife. It comes with multiple tools in it. So again, if you're somebody that, maybe has to pry somebody out of a door, or maybe needs to fix the equipment, because let's face it, as first responders, we all do shift work, right? So the knucklehead that worked on your rig before you probably screwed something up. So instead of trying to pry something out with your, $200 knife, now you just pull out your multi-tool and go to work, right? All right, guys, I hope you appreciated that presentation. I hope you guys got some information from me. I'll have a link below to all these knives. I hope it gave you a little bit more insight to the blades that first responders carry. Again, to each his own. If you have something specific or better or something I didn't mention, just put it down in the comments below so everybody else can read it and kind of get an idea of what they're looking for. If you have somebody that you love that's a first responder and you want to get them a gift for, let's say, Christmas, birthday, or any holidays coming up, hopefully one of these is on the list, and I appreciate that. Also, go to the Amazon store if you want any of these. I'll link them down below. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. And as always, be safe.